Welcome to Beyond Bark, a podcast series shedding light on Barkcloth, a 100% renewable and culturally significant textile that, despite its potential as a sustainable fashion alternative, remains largely misunderstood and overlooked. This podcast is brought to you by IGC, a creative conglomerate that advocates for the environmental, cultural, and social justice through fashion. I'm Miss Karmali, and today I'm joined by James Bond and Natasha Simma to explore the intersections between barkcloth and environmental sustainability. So sustainability and barkcloth. I think before we get to that, it's important that we do know a little bit more about you guys. So I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourselves. Maybe we'll start with you, James. Who are you? What do you do? And how does your work relate to barkcloth?
Thank you. My name is James Bond Kunobere. The Deputy Director, Environment and Sanitation at Kampala Capital City Authority, where I am responsible for ensuring cleaning of the city, waste management, sanitation, health inspection, and all that. I have been in the environment fraternity for about 2.5 decades, both in public service and private sector. And environmental sustainability is always at my fingertips. I really love it and have passion for environmental sustainability because that's the game changer for economic development and all what man deserves as long as he or she lives on this earth. Thank you. Yeah.
Miss Simma, who are you? What do you do? And how does your work relate to barkcloth?
Thank you so much. So my name is Natasha Simma. You can also call me Stormy. I'm an environmental and human rights defender from Kampala, Uganda. I was born in the hills of Ntungamo, so I'm very in tune with the environment, and I run a creative and cultural hub called Simma Africa, and I work mainly with women and girls, specifically refugees and marginalized communities. As an environmentalist, I'm very in tune to the water. I'm an ocean lover. I'm a lake lover. I'm a lover of waters. And the biggest thing for me when it comes to the environment is understanding that everything washes into the waters, everything washes into the sea. So when Mr. James is talking about waste management, I understand that very deeply. And then when you talk about fashion, because I'm in the fashion space as well, we're trying to fight fast fashion and we're trying to stop everything from going back to the landfills. So that is what I'm passionate about, and understanding this podcast being about barkcloth is very important because we have to go back to our roots and to our cultures and to indigeneity, understanding what our ancestors were using. So that is why I'm passionate about all this.
So you see barkcloth as a solution to fast fashion and the insustainability of that in some kind of way.
Yes, definitely. Because I mean, a tree of barkcloth would take 4 years to grow, but you'll harvest it for close to 100 years, and that beats anything that we can reproduce within, what comes in from China or the secondhand clothes that come from all over the world. It's very sustainable, and it works for everything. It's an ecosystem game changer. It provides shade, and it's a carbon sink, and it also provides food, and it provides an economic structure just for not only for human beings but also for animals as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're getting intense really quick. I want to ask one question because this is why we're here, right? But before we get into that, I have a question for each of you, and that is, what does barkcloth mean to you personally? Before we get into what it means to us in our job space, in the space of sustainability and the environment, what does it mean to you personally, and what impression do you have of barkcloth as yourself?
Thank you. The barkcloth is my traditional attire. I have known barkcloth since my childhood, and I think that was, although it was so much associated with being given to the dead during burial. But of course, I was at first when I was young, I would fear it because it is associated with the dead. But when I asked, one time I attended a burial where one person was being buried without a barkcloth, and people protested, said, no, this is a decent attire. It's part of respecting, giving an individual dignity. Culturally, one must have this attire as he is all buried. So then that brought me back to love the attire. That if it is for dignity purposes, then it is something that we all ought to associate with. So, and the good thing is that I have learned that our great-grandparents have actually done it locally. It is a local content. And I happen to be one of those who are chanceful to have had a grandmother who was 125 years, also who was participating in this and actually did a lot. After my qualification as an environmentalist 25 years ago, I just realized, I recalled what my great-grandmother used to do, that actually these people had the sustainability concept from the onset, leave alone what we are learning in class, but they had the intuition that really ought to have taken on by then. It's unfortunate that we are just waking up when it is almost late, because the other thing is that Barkcloth is got from very simple trees, just that are actually you can't find in the wild, but also they are easily propagated. And it doesn't take one to look for it. They're just common. The ficus naturalis, they are very common in this country and very resilient to our climate.
Yeah.
So that's how I have seen it. I've seen a gomesi, a women attire with a barkcloth.
Yes.
Very decent. It can really, it can absorb heat. It can be warm.
Yeah.
It is perfect. Although I think the only mistake our great grandparents did was just to associate it to only giving us during the send off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's high time now we take it as an attire, a daily attire, because it is simple to get. It is very flexible and it doesn't even need more operational costs like washing, ironing, and so on.
So it's dignity over death.
Exactly.
Yeah. The concept of the dignity over the death that it came with,
Yeah.
which although those two things are joined, dignity can spread over many assets and facets. So Miss Simma, what does barkcloth mean to you?
Well, I think on the onset, having grown up in Uganda, you grow up in a very colonial, empire, even when you're in school. So when you use your native tongue while you're in school, because most schools, we take English as our first language, you are shamed. So you're made to wear barkcloth and then maybe a cow horn necklace, and you parade around the school. So barkcloth was mainly an identity of shame. So growing up, it was more like something you don't want to associate with. But then when I grew up and then I joined the creative industry, it became something that is very easy to work with, a material that is very resilient and very accessible, to our country. And it brought back the memories of you're in school, but you're changing those memories to now good memories where you can use it to make clothing. You can use it to make like dope jackets and dope outfits, just like what IGC does. And that decolonization of the mind and the unlearning made it very easy for me to have like an acceptance, and then also to help the customers that I have with me and the students that I teach understand what it could be used for and how sustainable it is. So yes, it definitely is going to take a lot to change the minds of people, to go away from what we normally like identify Barkcloth with, death and send off, to look at it in terms of, like royalty,
But
like
beautifully, though, you're like an evidence of that. So in our previous podcasts, we talk about a past mindset being stuck in stone.
Mhm.
And so now what you're saying, though, is that through art and culture, you're able to reframe the understanding of the bark cloth. And
Yes.
then that gives you more of a likelihood to see different ways of using it and kind of like utilizing it,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So sustainability of bark cloth. Let's start with some of the facts, and then maybe you can help us understand the environmental issues that kind of are challenging Uganda in terms generally, but also in terms of bark cloth and its sustainability. So, bark cloth is inherently a sustainable textile. As we've said, it's harvested from the Mutuba tree, which is the natalensis, and it regenerates generally over a 9-month period without harming a tree and allowing for like continuous harvesting for 40 to 100 years, right? So unlike other conventional textiles as well, bark cloth doesn't use any chemicals, dyes, additives, and it's produced at such a low energy. So my question is, what are the kind of factors preventing it from being one of our main focus points in terms of a product or something we use daily?
Yeah, I think I've already, and my colleague Simma has already alluded to that. It dates back to uh, uh, our forefathers on how they associated it simply by dignifying the person at the send-off level. However, to me, I think uh, the creative industry is the only is one of the driving arm of campaigns that can bring it back, because you see, if you are in the creative industry, you are trying to provoke and actually reassure the public that this can be done, and you are doing it practically. So it is incumbent upon the creative industry, the arts, to try and modify it, change the mindset of our people or of us, that we can actually have back clothes as our daily attire. I have worked in the environmental field for, as I told you, over 2 decades, and in the waste industry, but I've not found a back cloth in a dump site,
Yeah.
in any landfill, meaning it is more sustainable. I have not found it in, it's very rare you will get it in the dry cleaners, because if you just put it on, you can actually reuse it, and severally, before you use any detergent, maybe to wash it or whatever. So it befits actually the African setting, that especially to the poor communities who don't need much of the operational costs like any other country. And the other issue is, it is very rare that this backcloth attire will ever be shared. Normally, one will have it and will be proud of having it as an attire. And therefore, in that in that angle, compared to the clothes, we call them second-hand or third-hand clothes. It is very it's very clean in terms of avoiding communicable diseases.
Okay.
So to me, I think it's very cheap. It's very cheap to make. I think if we inculcated it into our school curriculum, our children should actually now, especially with the new curriculum, which advocates for hands-on practical class experience, we better actually include it in our new curriculum as a part of the project.
And as part of the subject of the environment. So I have a question then. In an ideal world, because we do have lots of landfills here, and you're talking about the fast fashion industry, and it washes up lots of clothes in Ghana and West Africa. My question is, if we were making more bark cloth attire, such that perhaps it's not always this special event thing, it's more of something we use on a daily basis, how does it disintegrate back into our environment? Should we need to discard it? So if I've now got my bark cloth clothes that I'm wearing all the time and now they're ripped, they're dirty, what happens? Is it that this fabric can then be broken down again and made anew? Or is it that if I disregard it, is it going to go back into the earth? Is it going to disintegrate? How does it prevent waste? Like, how is it less wasteful than fast fashion?
I think when it comes to Barkcloth, it's more like it's very easy to upcycle. If you would give it back, it'd be very easy for me to like upcycle it and like make it new and then make it something else that you then try to wear again. Then also in Africa we have a culture of like blessing forward. Like my clothing from the time I was a child, I've always like give to the next cousin, to the next auntie, to the next sister. Like I don't throw away clothes. My clothes go to like someone else, and they have like a longer lifeline. So it's not like
So its value degenerates at a much like slower rate because
definitely
there are many ways that we can reincorporate it back into another aspect of fashion,
yeah. I think
right?
what we need to do generally as a people, we need to first step away from like consumerism, because everything is about seasons. Even when I produce clothing, I don't produce clothing based on seasons. I produce based on like what I'm feeling and what my mood is. That's what I design, and that's what I will put out. I won't put out based on spring, summer, and whatnot. I just put out like one capsule collection, and that is what I'm going to sell. So when it comes to Uganda, you'll have people importing clothing from China based off of what is produced. Oh, it's Christmas coming in. Oh, we have Easter holiday coming in. So, oh, there's Thanksgiving. So there's clothing coming in. It's very cheap. It breaks down quickly, and then it's going to go back to the landfill because most of it has a bigger percentage of polyester, which is basically plastic and oil. So if you have a fabric that is specifically like it degrades,
Yeah.
can be incorporated back and then reproduced and then made something different. It's basically magic, if you call it. Could be
No,
like
you're right.
fashion. It's fashion magic. So we have to first think of how the policymakers that we have can change first and foremost the curriculum, as you said, so that we have the curriculum where we decolonize the whole thought around backcloth, and make sure that the students and the youngins who are in school right now understand what it is, and connecting the past and the past and the future and the present, connecting what our ancestry was for backcloth and what it is now, and that understanding in school, to make sure that people know what backcloth is and what it could change for the environment and for sustainability. So doing that, if policies change, if curriculums can change, then mindsets will change. Then we'll have more people producing it, because if we have like 2, 4, 5 designers doing it, it may not be enough. In my opinion, I feel like almost every designer that we have under the East African or even the African bracket should be experimenting with backcloth. Like how people experiment with tie and dye or experiment with different fabrics. We shouldn't be importing fabrics. We should be already making our own fabrics, and we have backcloth.
Yeah, I think the curriculum is a really key point in that, because as well, even beyond fashion, by giving like, so I have some facts here, but I'm going to ask a question first before I share some facts. But the importance of having maybe young people know these facts is also that they don't have to take the fashion route. they can look at Barkcloth and someone says, I'm looking at and approaching this from a scientific perspective of how it is for the environment in this way and how it is for the environment in another way. So I think that kind of also the idea of the curriculum also introduces like an expansion on the capabilities of Barkcloth, because we're asking people to as well look at it as more than just a textile in the sense of what we wear, but in a textile of how we use it. So with that in mind, there's one question I wanted to ask you, which was what are the environmental benefits of cultivating Barkcloth more than other maybe textiles and farming what we're used to?
Thank you. There are immense environmental benefits of Barkcloth over any other convention means. First and foremost, my grandfather and my dad, much as he was a public servant, but he was a farmer as well. But as I was growing out, growing cotton for us as children, it was like a punishment. And we never liked cotton growing because even our parents used to complain that yes, it is very tedious, but also it earns low. Now, when it comes to Barkcloth, one, I can bet that Barkcloth, if it went into the curriculum and is promoted, it is going to provide jobs first and foremost for our graduates.
Yes.
And at technical level, vocational level, we are going to be, very many people will be into jobs. Secondly, the Barkcloth fabric, as I said, I have not seen it very common. Even I've not seen it at once in a landfill, meaning that it has a longer lifespan.
Yeah.
And as Simma has expressed on our culture, how we transit clothing from the first son to the second born, third born. So this can work perfectly, thus actually saving a lot. But it is the source from it. It is a renewable source. It is from a renewable source. And actually, as you get the bark from these ficus natalensis, is you are not even harming it.
Yeah.
You even its production, the Barkcloth production, requires very little water. It requires, it's not quite labor intensive. One would be doing it and enjoying doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other aspect is that I think in terms of fashion, I want to challenge the fashion designers that if, for example, you have so many functions, environmental functions, like on Environment Day. Let's start now having this Barkcloth as our attire on all these functions, all the dignitaries. It all depends on how the designer will do it. And I can tell you and I can bet that we can change the whole public perception about this.
I believe that. I really, really believe yes. Because from multiple levels, there's a fashion level, there's also like a farming level, using it as shade instead of these plastic tarpaulins. That's what we do. It's like you can stretch it out and use it as shade for your fruits, vegetables, things like that.
I can in my home we were all surrounded by the ficus natalensis. But I asked my dad why are we surrounded by this specific tree? He said these were propagated as windbreakers.
Yes.
But also there is also firewood.
Yeah.
Thirdly, they are easily propagated. Fourth, they are agroforestry trees.
Yes.
You can do your cultivation, you can interplant them within your garden.
Yeah.
They do not affect your crop yet. That's the beauty about
and depending on which ones, they produce figs, so you can also eat the fruit that comes off of them.
Yes.
They also store a lot of carbon.
Yeah.
They
So
support the biodiversity. They provide food and shelter. So yeah,
They made me know almost all species of birds because they attract birds because of that fruit which is on it. So we would count. I remember as I was growing up, we would look at the beautiful colors of birds. So you have ficus, you have biodiversity on it.
Yes.
Sure.
which kind of also is another evidence that the natural law of things always rejuvenates, restores, replenishes, and makes sure that there's enough for everyone.
Actually.
You know, we can wear it, we can shelter with it. So it's very, very diverse. So I think I'm going to lead on to one of my last questions, or the last two questions that we were asking everyone, which is the first is, what do you think is the future of Barkcloth? And the second is, what do you feel people should know about Barkcloth? If you can tell people something, like what's the lasting memory you would like for people to kind of start with, and where is the future looking for you? What do you want to see in them?
Yeah. I can leave Simma to start.
Yes, no, thank you, James. So for me, I think the future of Barkcloth is it's something that we need to take on individually, and also have it as community, and then have it at a country level, and then have it go beyond. Because, you have people having, we have Villisco, we have Holland Wax, we have different Ankaras from like Ghana and all that. We have different Chitenje from Tanzania. So why can we not make Uganda the hub for Barkcloth? Let that be our thing, and when you look at it from that perspective, there's no way we wouldn't rule different runways and rule different, have our own niche market where we produce Barkcloth as a textile to the world, so for me, I look at it as something that could be a game changer for all of us if we wake up to it and change the mindsets, we say, from the youngins up to upwards, to make it like our booming business. I mean, if we have coffee, why can we not have Barkcloth? So look at it from that point of view, because there's no chemicals involved. Everything is 100% organic when it comes to Barkcloth, and it boosts the ecosystem. It's good for biodiversity. It's good for the environment. It's good for shade. I mean, I look at when I go to like Gulu and what the tree people still have schools under the trees. So why not have it, under the Omutuba tree? So you can have that incorporated in the daily lives of Ugandans and have it like as a daily thing, so that it's normalized again, and then we can put it easily into the economy, just like how you have dairy, just like how you have, how you have coffee, how you have cotton. So for me, it will be a game changer. Let's just make it a point to have like how you have like the SDGs, tie it to SDGs, and have the government have better policies for it to like impact and
share the
growth.
knowledge.
Yeah, to share the knowledge and have growth. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. First and foremost, the future of our Barkcloth lies in the hands of our cultural leaders. The cultural leaders must actually reawaken the subjects to love our norms. And one aspect which is likely to be catastrophic is the people who know how to make Barkcloth from these ficus are disappearing. And I would implore the cultural leaders right away to do an inventory of those who are still living, empower them, mobilize the public for them, and actually they train. I would even
Like a vocational subject.
exactly like a vocational kind of arrangement, but also my students, my children, when they come back home, I've seen them now love projects. When they are in for holiday, they are asking, Daddy, what project? They look around, which project can I do? And I'm now looking at Barkcloth as one of the projects I would really implore them to undertake. Therefore, it goes back to the schools. That schools, even before we incorporate Barkcloth make into the school curriculum, the schools themselves must be innovative and try to entice our children to have research. Because I think I've grown up seeing Barkcloth of one color. Can we modify looking at Barkcloth in different colors? Because now in our country with the war, the politics, people, if you have different colors, we can earn highly, because I've seen some attires of different or specific colors costing up to 1 million a shirt.
Yeah.
So we can explore having
Absolutely.
colors either with the tree species,
Yeah.
but we want to run organic. However, there is also another arm, which is us as environmentalists. We need to drive this campaign actually faster in that angle, and actually take it as far as incorporating it on the smart climate interventions or innovations. But also, I also call upon the arts and craft industry.
Yeah.
Yes, please, just put everything on market. We are willing. How I wish the next World Environment Day we would have Barkcloth at a national level, looking at this fabric
And the different ways that.
and the different ways, and actually the higher institutions of learning can do much research. Let's drive the institutions of learning to do much research, so that we know we are not remaining stagnant.
Yes.
Let me tell you one thing, where we have even gone below, where we have our culture, the way it's going. Are you aware that of late, even our dead are now going away from the Barkcloth? They are being buried in suits? No. Because this fabric, by the way, you see a coffin, that box, doesn't take long before it disintegrates.
Yes.
In the grave. But a Barkcloth, even if you want to do genetic investigations of who this was, Barkcloth, there is a way it makes the dead remain, all the bones remain preserved completely. Even 100 years
Yes.
or wherever, you will find the bones.
Which I think was the scientific purpose of it, the same way we mummified people in Egypt. It's a tool of burial and a tool of preservation and a tool of sustainability, right?
And when you look at it in terms of like the climate, James spoke about the climate aspect, and it hit me as like, okay, we've been pushing for reforestation because we've lost like 40% of our tree cover, since 1990. So look at it in the form of like, instead of planting, yes, we're going to plant fruit trees, we're going to plant bamboo, we're going to plant all these alternatives to, like, bamboo is an alternative to plastic pollution. So let's have the Omutuba tree as an alternative to, to like the ecosystem change. So having it go to schools and have tree planting drives. As Simma, we've been doing that already, but now it beats me why we haven't actually planted the tree. We've been planting mango.
It's about reframing the mind and the concept of the ecosystem. The point of an ecosystem is that everything works in tandem to create all that we need.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, and two, and I think I had another question for you specifically. We're talking about the ecosystem, we're talking about the environment, we're talking about the things that we can solve using Barkcloth. But I think generally we also need to touch on, and if I can ask you, James, like, what are the general kind of environmental issues that we're facing in Uganda such that these can be the solutions, you know? But what specifically, generally, are the kind of issues we're facing?
You know, the issues, many of the environmental issues are are born by us trying to
Human.
copy. There is that moral kind of decadent. We think anything foreign is the best.
Yeah.
And much of the West is one of the critical issue problems that are we are facing. And when you go into a landfill or even the drainage channels, all these wastes is actually imported. We are importing at a cost, but it is even becoming more costly for us to manage what we are importing when it turns into waste. We have a problem of course, deforestation, as she has alluded to, that even what we are replacing is foreign. But our natural trees have the potential of natural regeneration, which we have to actually promote. Let me tell you, the good thing, what are the driving factors of deforestation? Have been, of course, energy, need for energy, for charcoal burning. I can tell you this, that Ficus natalensis is not palatable to charcoal burners. It is. So it is an advantage. And as I told you, that they are very easy to propagate. There are other issues, climate change related issues that we are grappling with, but they are all associated with our mindset, culture. And I'm sorry, I cannot point to our cultural leaders, but I will beg. Cultural leaders, please drive us to the right where we were. And we had taken a right channel of conserving our nature. But please don't leave us to go astray. Bring us back, drive us to the right where our great grandparents drove us, and we shall be there. The good thing is our cultural leaders command respect.
Yes.
And it is not bargaining, their direction is taken wholesomely. Now, we have left everything to the academicians. Don't leave everything to academicians, politicians, and whoever. Let's go back. And I can assure you, come any art and design competition at world over, the Barkcloth, we are going to have it as number one attire world over.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Of indigenous solutions, because I've been attending the climate change conferences, and people try to capitalize indigenous solutions, but without taking out the indigenous people.
Yes.
So you're on tables and like you're the only indigenous person, and then everyone else is like a white man from Google and a white man from from like big corporations, But we have to have indigenous solutions by indigenous people, because we've been having them and they are right at our tips. So that's exactly the only way
What
to
I'm
go.
hearing though too is that the solutions are actually a call to go back to a
Yeah.
more sustainable way of
Definitely.
living.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I want to just say thank you very much for shedding light on this a little bit. I think it's such an important conversation to have, and it's important to understand how actually waste and for the barkcloth tree specifically, and then culture. You mentioned you're appealing to cultural leaders, and yet this is a scientific issue.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows how it really does take a village and how all of those things coming together can serve a cultural community, but also our environmental community as well. So thank you so much for being with us, and I'm really grateful for the conversation.
Thank you too.
Yeah.